Hello, how's it going? Welcome to our topic for today, the political system of the United States of America. What a topic, right? I admit this is not one of the easiest topics, but don't worry, it's also not all that horrible as you might think. Why don't we start right away? Have you ever heard of these things? Checks and balances. Judicial branch. Commander-in-Chief. Federal system. Don't worry if you haven't, because after you've seen this video, these are going to be a piece of cake for you. Let's start with this very important document. The American Constitution. This Constitution is the oldest constitution still in use. It was created in 1787 and it was adopted by the original 13 states in 1788. The Constitution guides American law and the whole political culture. It clearly defines how political power is separated and other main principles of running the country. The original Constitution only strictly defined American political system. But of course, that is not enough. It became necessary to add more sections on the rights of the individual people. The so-called amendments. The first 10 amendments are together known as the Bill of Rights. These define, for example, freedom of religion, freedom of the press, protection against cruel and unusual punishment, and others. In later years, more amendments were added. You already know that the American Constitution is a very important document. But it has some problems. Some sentences are written in a very vague way. This means that it's sometimes unclear what is meant exactly. Also, as it is such an old document, many people are not sure if some things are still satisfactory when it comes to our modern times. Okay, that's enough of the Constitution. What I really want you to remember is that the Constitution makes sure that nobody in the government has total power. This is called the system of checks and balances. Let's look at this in more detail. The US government has 3 branches, or parts. Number 1, legislative branch. That means the people who make new laws. This role is played by the Congress. Number 2, executive branch, which is basically the president and also his cabinet. And then there is the judicial branch, which is represented by the Supreme Court. Its function is to interpret the Constitution and decide if laws and other decisions are not against the Constitution. But it doesn't make new laws. Let me repeat all that. Legislative branch, represented by Congress, makes new laws. I'll tell you a bit more on that later. Executive branch is the president and his cabinet. And judicial branch, represented by the Supreme Court, decides if laws and other decisions are constitutional or not. So in other words, it is interpreting the US Constitution all the time. And together, this system, which is called checks and balances, makes sure that no single branch of government holds total power and each branch is checking the other. Now, I will tell you a couple of more details about the three branches. But don't worry, not too many of them. Are you ready? Let's start with the Congress. Try to imagine a nation with no laws. That's what the United States might look like without Congress. So, it's very important because it makes new laws. Also, it controls the budget and it can remove the president from office. The Congress is made up of two parts: the Senate and the House of Representatives. Good. Now, some information on the role of the president. The American president has a lot of power, more than some other presidents in other countries. As head of state, he has ceremonial duties and represents the nation. As commander-in-chief, he is in charge of all the armed forces of the country. He also decides on the foreign policy of the nation and many other things. Okay. And now, let's talk about the Supreme Court for a while, the third branch of the American government. It consists of 9 judges, who are called Chief Justices. The main function of the Supreme Court is to guard